Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. One big difference between the Western countries and the countries in the East, or to be more specific, Eastern Europe, Romania, where I come from, was that at first there's no corruption here in the West. That was the first. Then versus Romania, which big corruption. Then the second one was, well, in Romania the corruption is right in your face. So they're doing hanky panky and they tell you, and you can't do shit. Whereas in the West, United States of America, Great Britain, Germany, France, this kind of countries, Switzerland, and so on, the Nordic states, the the corruption was there, but you didn't find out. They wouldn't brag about it. They didn't throw it in your face. And you had a life. In Romania, they had a life, you barely made it. Here, they let you drink your beer, make your wine, do certain things, buy a good car, and live a life. Don't be hungry. Well, things changed. With this article that I have right here, I will show you. I mean, this is like the cherry on the cake. It's not this is the first example or one of many. It is the cherry. It's like, what else do you want? It's right in our faces. What? I'm going to show you how certain interests, I don't want to say corruption because I don't want to create any big problems, but certain interests are pushed forward through some little hanky-panky, how to put it, strange ways, make tons of profits, and then they come in front of you and say, we need more because we are the victims. So they are closing to what the Romanians are doing. You can't do shit to me, man. My uncle is the chief of police. What are you gonna do? Nothing. That's how is Romanian style. Here they don't do that. They don't say anything, but then the chief of the police is the guy's uncle. But you don't find out. Now you find out. They're gonna tell you, hey, do you know who I know? Do you know who I'm related to? So it starts. Let me show you this article. Very angering to tell you straight. Why? Because I didn't come for this here. I'm gonna go back. To what? To those guys? Jesus Christ. If, and I'm planning, go back to change things, 100%. But as of now, you deal with the same culture. You deal with the same. All right. Reuters. To boost arms production, Pentagon calls for tax breaks, fewer rules for contractors. You see that? So the Pentagon calls for tax breaks for, for these companies, poor companies, fewer rules for contractors. The contractors are fucked up, and we need to help them a little bit. The Pentagon asks. I have two articles where I'm going to show you how much profit these guys had during this lucky war. This is where it comes with, do you think it was lucky? That makes, the war just broke out over there in Ukraine, unprovoked by us. We didn't do anything. And it's just lucky, man. It's a coincidence. I don't believe that squat. Why? I have my own understanding of how the world works. And this kind of coincidences do not happen to you or I. Why? Because they're not coincidences. That's why. When was the last time you won such a lottery? Some do. These guys seem to win all the time. The military-industrial complex, the banks, and the energy sector. All the time. So it's not a coincidence, I say. So let's go back here. The Pentagon said defense contractors because poor guys, they need fewer regulations and long-term contracts as incentives to boost weapons production to create much bigger stockpiles, according to the Department of Defense strategy released on Thursday. To defend you and I, we're told. Okay, my friends, that's what it is. And they need incentives because the wars that are created that's a constant war, actually. When was peace on here and the United States was not involved in? We always have some terrorists somewhere. My friends. Now, I'm for fewer regulations. For all, not only for these guys. Now, let's go back to the next one. Let's look at the second article coming from Forbes. Very informative. And I'm not going to read it in its entirety. You can do that. And I have another one which adds to this one. There are fantastic articles, I think, that shows you that poor little contractors, they struggle. And it's a coincidence. And they need some tax breaks. I need some fucking tax breaks too. Yeah. Forbes. So this is from January 12, 2024. That's a coincidence. As foreign demand, is demand. Why is demand? Are they at war? For U.S. weapons surges, Biden administration moves to expedite sales. So how did this demand increase? Boogeyman Russia. Hey, Russia's gonna attack you guys. Okay, I want about 5 HIMARS, this F-16s, garbage, and others. Why do they say garbage? Old plane. So let's see. The United States is the biggest source of global military sales, and its shares of the market is growing. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute reported earlier this year that the U.S. generated 40% of all arms exports during the period 2018-2022, compared to 33% during 2013-2017. Now, if you think that's not a lot, imagine that you get a raise, which you will never get, of 33%, okay, versus 40. How about 30,000, 33,000 versus 40,000? Oh, I can do a lot of things with $7,000. All right, so during the same span of time, CIPRI says that Russia's arms exports shrank 31%, and they're at war. And they are at war. We're not. China fell 22%. The other big gainers besides America were France, at war with Russia, Italy, and South Korea. All these guys provided weapons to the guys scared of the boogeyman and the Ukrainians. What they did like this: they depleted their arsenals, and then they cried to their baboons, hey, we don't have weapons anymore, we don't have missiles, how about we contractors? Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, we need some. Already? Okay. Why? Because we had to help over there the Ukrainians. We gave them our garbage, old shit, and now we need new ones. So get to work. We're going to provide you with work, guys. But what can you do? And we're going to provide it over there, and then we're going to need some more. This is how the racket works. Move on. Comparing the 5-year period ending in 2022 with the earlier period, CIPRI calculates U.S. arms export increase 14%, but the scale of U.S. sales dwarfs that of other countries. France, the third biggest exporter of arms after America and Russia, even with its recent gains, only claims 11% of the global market. U.S. dominance of the arms trade is no surprise. No shit. For some it is, if you believe that. Its 40% market share corresponds with America's 39% share of all global military spending. China, often described as the pacing threat in Pentagon strategic pronouncement, only represents 13% of world military expenditures. Well, what can you do? So let's go to, I'm going to see if the jobs, I'm going to go on the other one, the jobs. I don't want to miss something because I read here, and I don't want to, the political, they tell you how things work here. Read it, my friends. They talk about the political military bureau. Just read about it. I'm not going to go into this. These are the guys that make the decisions. They are the fat cats, and then they get jobs in the private sector of these guys. Next. This comes from, I don't know what this is, Paracara Puru Puru News. As the very, very informative article. As the war rages on and military spending booms, the U.S. army industry is the big winner in Ukraine. Big winner, right there. This is from 20th of January 2023. So this is 1 year old, remember. Industry is big winner. It is, of course. Of course. So let's go and see, it says here, ultimately, the U.S. defense contractors are set for a bonanza. And the poor contractors right here, they need fewer rules for contractors and tax breaks because they barely, where's the need, may need, no, they definitely need, they definitely need. Jesus Christ. So, what are the issues with the MIC, military industrial complex? Look over here, because this country doesn't produce shit but weapons. Charles Miller, senior lecturer at the ANU School of Politics and International Relations, said about 800,000 jobs are directly tied to the sector. 800, let's put 1 million. And how many people you have deployed overseas? I'm not talking about the guys with weapons in their hands. The guys that feed them, give them food, the guys that build things for them, the guys that transport them, the guys that transport goods. All those guys, how many millions are over there? 1, 2? Well, all working age adults. Bring them back. What are you going to have? A revolution. You don't have jobs for these guys. You produce weapons, 800,000 jobs, plus the other ones, you're going to make about 3 million people unemployed just like this. Yeah, that's why do you think when Rand Paul said, bring the troops back and so on, these guys are, oy vey, we're going to have big problems. Why? What do we produce again? All right, so let's go back. And it's not the Raytheon and Boeing and Lockheed Martin. He says here, the local economy is highly dependent on defense contractors for its economic well-being. And I'm quoting, and that's not the Raytheons or the Boeings themselves, but what's called the secondary contractors. That is the people and the companies that make a living by serving them. All right, remember the Eisenhower military-industrial complex, right? Okay, 1961. All right, that's not the entire of this. This is who are the biggest winners. Obviously, these guys are, and we find out here, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, and Northrop Grumman, all from the US, are among the top contractors right here. Remember those names. They also produce some of the most in-demand and expensive weapons being sent to Ukraine. Oy vey, what a coincidence. The conflict has sent their stocks. The conflict has sent their stocks surging. A coincidence, okay, coincidence. With the share price of Northrop Grumman increasing 40% by the end of 2022, while Lockheed Martin's was up by 37%. So that imagine you, if you have any investments in a stock market, you got the next year 40%. You put over there $100,000 and all of a sudden you got $140,000 in 1 year. Woo, not the average 6% of the S&P 500. Isn't that 6% or 5%? Something like that, huh? Move on. In October, the Pentagon announced US $1.2 billion in contracts were on the way to replenish US military stocks for weapons sent to the battlefield. What did I tell you? Who made you send it? Well, this guy said, you send that and you're going to come and you're going to give us work. And we're going to have a lot of money. And you're going to, after you get out of the government job, we're going to hire you with 10 times the income you had. We're going to give you an excellent pension. Plus the one from the government, which if you didn't work 10 or 15 years, you're not going to get it. Production for Lockheed Martin popular Javelin anti-tank missiles, dubbed Saint Javelin, the protector of Ukraine, increased from 2,100 to nearly 4,000 per year. That's not a big increase, but 2,000 to 4,000 is double. Remember, do this in terms of this. Of your income, when you at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, your employer is going to give you a raise of 1%. Now imagine that's 50%. Think like that and you're going to realize how big that is, doubled, if you have problems realizing it. While production for its high mobility artillery rocket system, HIMARS, shot up from 60 to 96 units a year. The US upped the ante further in November, awarding Raytheon, which also co-produces juveniles, a $1.2 billion contract for another 6 national advanced surface-to-air missile systems, NASAMS, for Ukraine. Soon after, Lockheed Martin won. Ha! They won because they competed. A $7.8 billion contract modification for F-35 aircraft and $431 million US dollars to deliver new HIMARS and support services for the US Army and its foreign allies, customers. Australia this month also announced it was purchasing 20 HIMARS and associated hardware for $558 million because Australia will be attacked by Russia and China together. Global defense spending boom. It was $45 billion more than was proposed by Joe Biden to do what? Last month, the U.S. Senate passed a funding bill that included a record of $858 billion. I thought it was $884 billion in annual defense spending, up from $740 billion the previous year. So $45 billion more that was proposed. So Biden proposed and the guy says, no, we're going to do it more. We need to. And then tax breaks. And let me go to the last one right here. All right. In 2020, Lockheed Martin got more money through federal contracts than the Department of State and U.S. aid combined. Got that, my friends? So they, poor guys, they need some tax breaks, right? They need some fewer rules, and it was something else, fewer regulations. Ready? Good. So now you know who's who, what, but hey, it's a coincidence. Are these private companies donating money, which is bribing, to the politicians to run? Yes. Do you see any? Nah, because those people have character. Unlike, I don't want to speak in your name, but thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just. Right in our face.